What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our college football bowl game preview and picks. Part one of two. Come back in a few weeks to see our part two. But this is for all the early games until I believe the 28th. But before we get into it, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. In the NFL picks video for next week, I'm going to be giving away who was the winner of the 200 subscriber giveaway. So that means we are on to our next giveaway at 500. So make sure you guys got to get us to 500. It'll be an even bigger and better giveaway. But before we get into our video here, we got to look at the conference championship results. Obviously, it was a good weekend for a lot of teams and just a good week of football. But Ty, going all the way back to the end of November, what game could you remember the most that probably was the biggest for you?
I think everyone would say the USC game just because it knocked them out of the playoff and they really got exposed on defense. Everyone thought, or at least a lot of people thought USC would win that game because they had already lost a heartbreaker to Utah, but they just couldn't tackle. Basically, the defense completely let them down, and now they find themselves on the outside of the playoff.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I think for me, it was the Tulane game. Just because a lot of people, were thinking, oh, Tulane, UCF, pretty much whoever's going to win that was going to be the New Year's Six representative. And it turned out to be true. And I'm happy for the Green Wave. And, it's obviously great for them. But we're going to get into our first bowl game here, which is going to be today when you guys are seeing this video, but we're recording it the day before. You got UAB and Miami of Ohio playing in the Bahamas Bowl. And I like the Blazers here. This team was shut down just a few years ago and not even a college football team. And they brought the program back. And here they are already in some bowl games. And what better way to celebrate in a Bahamas Bowl? So give me the Blazers.
Yeah, I don't know much about these teams. I know UAB has probably the best logo in the country, and Miami, Ohio is in the weaker MAC East and only went 6-6. So I'm gonna go with UAB with their consistent success.
And then later, you have a game of the teams that just missed the New Year's Six possibilities with UTSA and Troy. Two teams that obviously don't get talked about enough because of, the bias of the Power Five schools getting all the talk. And you got to give them credit. We have both these teams ranked currently. So more than likely one's moving up, one moving down. But I'm going with the Roadrunners of UTSA, their second straight 10-win season. And they're building something special out there in San Antonio. And I'm gonna go with them getting 12 wins this year, beating a good Troy team.
Yeah, these teams are basically neck and neck. Both had 11-win seasons, both won their conference, and they're one ranking apart. So you could really just flip a coin here. But I'm going with Troy. I think the Sun Belt was slightly better this year, so I'm just going to lean towards Troy. But this is a very close matchup here.
And then Saturday in the Fenway Bowl, played in Boston, you got Louisville and Cincinnati, and this one is more about Cincinnati. Obviously, Luke Fickell is already gone; he's departed. Ben Bryant, I don't think he's playing in this one. It seems like a lot of guys, or a few guys, they're decent guys, are going to be sitting out. And Louisville, well, they still got Malik Cunningham, and he's going to play in this one. He isn't, he's probably leaving after this year, but he's not going to be a top first round pick, so he's still going to be playing in this one. And just because he is playing, I got to go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, this is a weird game. Cincinnati just stole, not really stole, but they got Louisville's coach, Scott Satterfield, after Fickell left. And Louisville got their guy, Jeff Brom from Purdue. So I think not only does Louisville have revenge on their minds for their coach leaving, I think they also are excited for the future. They're going to be more motivated, and I think they get the win.
Then later, after that game in the Las Vegas Bowl, you have Florida that showed a lot of promise early in the year and beating Utah. And then after that, it was just dumpster fire. And then you got Oregon State coming in, more than likely a team very hot coming into a bowl game. And I think it's a bad matchup for the Gators. So give me the Beavers out of the Pac-12.
Yeah, I just think Florida's not super excited to even be here. It's another underwhelming season. And Oregon State has everything to play for a 10-win season. So I think their defense is going to get the job done. They'll get the win.
And at 3:30 on ABC in the LA Bowl, you have Washington State going against Fresno State. And yet again, Fresno State is looking at a 10-win season if they get this win. And I think they're going to do it. They seem like they're another one of those lower teams, mid-major teams that, rallies off 9, 10 wins almost at a consistent basis now. And I think they're going to do it again yet this year.
Yeah, Fresno State, like every other Mountain West team, was very inconsistent this year. So you're not really sure what you're going to get out of them. But Washington State has a couple pretty good wins to their name. I think they get another one here and they get to 8 wins.
And then, yes, you were looking at that correctly. A 5-7 team in a bowl game, just because, well, the Army Navy game wasn't decided yet, and they would have got 6 wins, which they did, which I think they should have substituted the winner of that game in for Rice, but they didn't. And you got Rice here at 5-7, so I got to go with them because it seems like they don't deserve to be there. I don't know how they picked the 5-7 Rice team over all the other 5-7 teams. But we're going with it. And it seems like when this situation happens, that team always beats the team that should be there. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I probably won't be tuning into this game to be completely honest. I know nothing about either of these teams other than the conferences they're in. And Southern Miss, the Sun Belt is a little better. So I'll just go with Southern Miss, but ugly matchup.
And then later that night in the New Mexico Bowl, I think you have a very good game on your hands here. It's going to be one that probably will be overlooked in the bowl season just because there's so many. We have a good matchup here with SMU and BYU, two teams that kind of had higher expectations coming into the year, probably shooting for 10-win seasons, but it just didn't fall that way. BYU was ranked at one point early in the season and then kind of sputtered out. But I'm going to go with SMU and the Mustangs here. And I think that they just have more to play for right now. BYU is a down year, and I guess the only way they could save it is winning this game, but I just don't think they have that in them.
Yeah, I'm just going with BYU basically because it seems like they always win their bowl game. Almost every year they get the job done at the end of the year, and I think that continues. Two really good quarterbacks in this game, but I think BYU's Jaren Hall is just a little bit better, so I think they'll get a close win.
And then the last game of the night, I believe, on the 17th in the Tropical Smoothie Bowl, you got North Texas and Boise State. And like you said about BYU, it's almost the same about Boise State. They always win their bowl game, no matter where they're going, where they're playing, if it's at home or somewhere else, they get it done. And I like them to do that again here and get to 10 wins.
Yeah, I agree. They're just a very consistent program, and they get into a bowl game against an overmatched team. You got to expect them to get the win. I think this will be no different.
And then moving to the 19th on Monday, you have Marshall going over to Myrtle Beach and playing UConn. And UConn, doesn't get enough credit for what they did this year. Even 6-6 seems like a long shot for them this year, and they did it kind of like Kansas. Teams that nobody saw winning more than 2 games, that here they are in a bowl game. And unfortunately, they go against a decent Marshall team that has a very good defense. Obviously they're known this year for beating Notre Dame in Notre Dame. At times have changed since that moment. They struggled a little bit in conference, but I think they do end the season with a win.
Yeah, major props to UConn. That's like a 2 or 3 win roster, and to get to a bowl game in Jim Mora's first year is a huge step for that program. But I still think the talent gap in this game is pretty large, and Marshall should go out there and I think they'll cover. I think they'll pretty much dominate this game. But again, props to UConn.
And then Tuesday in the Idaho Potato Bowl at Boise State, the blue field, you have Eastern Michigan playing San Jose State. And I'm going with Eastern just because of the MAC. I think the MAC will have a good year in the bowl games. And Eastern has been quietly a very not good team, but a decent team in the MAC. They've played a lot of teams close and beat teams they shouldn't have this year. And they're 8-4, and I think that's kind of a big surprise to a lot of people this year as well. And I think they're going to finish with a win.
Yeah, I hate picking any Spartans, but I'm going to go with them in this game. I just think the MAC was kind of down this year. There wasn't really a really good team, so that could be partially why the Eagles were 8-4. But this really could go either way. I'm just going to go towards San Jose State.
And then later that night in the Boca Raton Bowl, you have Liberty going against Toledo. And Toledo, well, we're the Big Ten, or sorry, not Big Ten. What am I talking about? The MAC champions. And you got Liberty, the team that really had higher expectations this year as well after, Malik Willis last year led this team to do good things, but they kind of sputtered out early in the season. So I'm going with Toledo here. I think they're going to yet again win another bowl game while they win the MAC.
Yeah, I probably would have picked Liberty here, but I think Hugh Freeze leaving, I think that does matter here. I think that's going to make a difference. And Toledo's got a really solid group of 5 quarterback, Daquan Finn. and I think they'll go out there and score a lot of points in this game and get it done.
Then Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the New Orleans Bowl, you got Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers going against 10-2 South Alabama. And, that's another team that isn't getting enough credit. We almost put them in our rankings, South Alabama, but we didn't. And maybe with this win, maybe they'll jump in there if a few teams lose. If you finish the season 11-2, more than likely they will be in there. And also for a betting perspective, I like the 4.5 spread. I think if they're going to win, they're going to win big.
Yeah, once again, I'm going with the Sun Belt. I don't think I picked them to lose a game yet. I think it continues here. They are a very strong conference. They have a lot of favorable matchups in their bowl games. So look for them to make some noise, and South Alabama is going to continue that here.
And then Thursday in the Armed Forces Bowl, I can't pick against Air Force in an Army game, like that. I can't do that. That'd be disrespectful for my country. So I got to go with Air Force, unlike Ty.
Now I feel bad about going with the Baylor Bears, but Baylor I mean, they're a very talented roster. They had very high expectations this year. A lot of people thought they'd win the Big 12. Obviously, they've been very disappointing, but there's still a big talent gap here, and Dave Aranda's still a really good coach. So I feel like Baylor's got to win this game to at least salvage something out of this season.
And then on the 23rd in the Independence Bowl, you got Louisiana Raging Cajuns versus Houston. And I think this one is kind of a no-brainer pick. If you're taking money line, you got to go with Houston here. The American Conference was good. They struggled a little bit in conference play, and that's kind of why they find themselves here at 7-5. But going against out-of-conference teams, I think they will play good and get the win.
Yeah, that Houston offense is still really good. I'm surprised at the line. I'm sure I'm missing something. I mean, I don't know much about these teams anyway, so that's a little concerning, but I think Houston's going to put up a lot of points, and they're going to give up a lot of points, but not quite enough, and they'll get the win.
And then later on the 23rd in the Gasparilla Bowl, you have Wake Forest versus Missouri. And let's talk about Missouri since we're not picking them. Missouri, this team had a shot to take down the #1 team in the country against Georgia, had them on the ropes and just gave it away. And that's, I think, what they're going to be known for this year. Really having a shot to pull off probably, I would say, the biggest upset of the year, and just couldn't get it done. And now they find themselves here in a bowl game against a very good Wake Forest team. They still have Sam Hartman and all his weapons. And I think that -1 spread as well, I think that's got to be one of those you got to take for one of these bowl games. Because, Wake Forest, we see them put up almost 42, 49 points a game sometimes, and it can happen just like that. So I got to go with the Demon Deacons.
Yeah, Missouri's had some good performances this year, but I think just the fact that Sam Hartman's playing in this game, that makes me have to pick Wake Forest. That offense is going to put up points, and Missouri doesn't quite score a lot this year. They kind of rely on their defense. So if they're playing catch up, I think Wake Forest will win this game.
And then on Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock, I'm sure both of these teams are happy they're playing in this one in the Hawaii Bowl. You got Middle Tennessee going against San Diego State. And I got to go with the Aztecs. Don't know much about either of these teams, but, the Mountain West was a better conference, and I think I got to go with them.
Yeah, all I know about either of these teams is that Brady Hoke is at the helm of San Diego State. He might have been a huge disappointment at Michigan, but he continues to win at San Diego State in his second time there, and I think that'll continue here with another solid season.
And then the day after Christmas, we're starting it off with the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. And you got New Mexico State and Bowling Green. And this game is a battle of the 6 and 6s. And I'm going with the MAC school just because they're closer to home. I'm assuming they should have more fans at this one, just because they are, I think, an hour and a half away from Detroit. And New Mexico State obviously is coming all the way across the country to play in the game after Christmas. So I don't think they're going to get a big crowd there. So I think that's going to matter in the end. So give me Bowling Green.
I have a feeling New Mexico State's not very excited to be playing in Detroit for their bowl game. But I think they're kind of similar to UConn. They're like a 2-win roster. They've been horrible for a while. So just getting here is a huge accomplishment, but the talent still isn't there. So I think Bowling Green will win this game.
And then on the 27th, you have the Camella Bowl with Georgia Southern in Buffalo. And I'm going with Georgia Southern. And this is one of my picks where I'm going strictly on logo. I like the Eagle logo, so I got to go with Georgia Southern.
I'm going with the Sun Belt here again. I can't pick against, I guess it's my new favorite conference because I don't think they're losing the bowl game. So Georgia Southern, they're getting the win here.
And then at 3:15, you got Memphis and Utah State in the First Responder Bowl. I'm going Memphis here. Kind of underwhelming season in my opinion for Memphis. I thought they could have been an 8-4 team here, but it's not going to matter. I think at the end of the year, as long as you get a bowl win in a season you're not expected to go to the playoff or win your conference, I think it's a good year. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, I got to go Memphis as well. The only reason Utah State's even in a bowl game is because there's about 4 or 5 terrible teams in the Mountain West, and they happen to barely not be one of them. So that's how they got their 6 wins. But Memphis is the much better team, and I think they cover.
And then at 6:45, the games, as you notice, start getting a little bit better. Coastal Carolina, 9-3 at one point. What was it, 8-0 this year? And East Carolina has been a team that's kind of flown under the weather in the American Conference and really, beaten some good teams and played a lot of good teams tough. And just for that, I got to go with the Pirates just because, Coastal Carolina, they have struggled their last 4 weeks of the season. And Grayson McCall, he's transferring in the transfer portal and he's obviously not playing this game either. So just with that being said, go with the Pirates.
Yeah, everything is going against Coastal Carolina in this game. Grayson McCall was like a top 10 quarterback in the country. Now he's not playing. And like you said, they got blown out in their last 2 games of the season. So you got to go with the Pirates here. I think they have a lot more to play for. And they're the better roster with McCall not playing.
And then the last game of our video here, you got Wisconsin and Oklahoma State in the Guarantee Rate Bowl. And I like Oklahoma State here. Spencer Sanders plays. He hasn't announced that he's not playing in this one. I think that matters. And, he has been a very good quarterback this year, probably top 20 in the country. The record of the team doesn't show for it, but his play does. And that matters in these bowl games where Wisconsin has struggled at times to put 15, 20 points on the board. So Oklahoma State, they're known for scoring a lot and giving up a lot, but I just don't think the Wisconsin offense can hang.
Yeah, every bowl season there's that one ugly game where it's like 10-3 or something like that. I think that's going to be this game. Both of these offenses have really struggled at the end of the year, but they both have really good defenses. I know Graham Mertz is not playing for Wisconsin, but they have Luke Fickell coming in, a lot of good things coming or going on for them. So I think they are motivated for this game. So I think Wisconsin wins. I'll say 13-7.
And that's going to be it for our video this time. Make sure you guys come back in a little over a week to see our picks for the rest of the bowl games this year. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.